Hello, everyone. My name is Wilkie Frieson, and this is our weekly voting workshop. We're here to provide voting information for the upcoming elections, and this is brought to you by the Clark Historic Site, and I'll be leading this workshop. So first, I'd like to welcome everyone, and thank you all for tuning in this evening. And before we start talking about how to vote, first we want to talk about something more important, which is why we vote. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to explore how your voice shapes elections and why your voice matters, and how your vote affects your decisions that affect your daily life. And that is understanding your voting power. And I have some slides, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with those. This is the question many people ask themselves. Does my vote really matter? Can one person's vote actually change anything? It's a fair question, and the answer is absolutely yes. Let me show you why. These elections, recent elections, have been decided by extremely small margins. Let's look at some of these more recent elections. In the 2000 presidential election, out of 50 million votes, that presidential election was decided by 543,000 votes, a margin of 0.009%. In 2002, the Alabama governor's election was decided by 3,000 votes out of 1.3 million total votes. The 2016 presidential election was decided by 3 million votes out of 62 million. In a local mayoral election, the mayor's election was decided by 32 votes in a runoff. If just 32 more people in the city had voted, the outcome of that election would have been drastically different. Here's the basic principles of democracy. You vote for people to represent you, but those representatives then make decisions on your behalf. Those decisions become policies, laws, and budget choices, and those choices directly affect your life. It's a chain. Your vote, your representative, their decisions, your daily life. That's why your vote matters. You're not just choosing a person, you're choosing the direction of your community and country. Local government affects your daily life more than you know. The people you elect to city council and the school board and county commission, they make decisions that affect your life more than the president does. Think about it. Your local government decides how much you pay in property taxes. They decide whether your kid's school gets new textbooks or has to make do with outdated materials. They decide how many police officers patrol your neighborhood. They decide whether the pothole on your street gets fixed. They decide whether you get a new park or you get a new library. They decide whether your water is safe to drink. These are decisions that affect your everyday life, and they're made by people like you who vote. Let's take a local example. Let's take a real life example. Say, for instance, the people of the city want a park. They want a park downtown. People in the community who want the park, they vote for something, they believe in the park. That vote leads to real, tangible change that you can see and experience every day. If in person you could point out this outcome, you would drive down Main Street and you would see that park. You would see the effect of your vote. This is why voting matters. It's not abstract. It's real. It's your neighborhood and it's your future. Here's the flip side. When people don't vote, other people make these decisions for them. It's just that simple. If you don't vote, your voice isn't part of the conversation. The people who do vote, the ones elected officials listen to, They're the ones whose priorities get addressed. Special interests, wealthy donors, and organized groups. They show up and vote, and they get heard. If you're not voting, you're essentially saying, I'm okay with whatever happens. But here's the thing, you're probably not okay with it. You probably have opinions about your schools, your safety, your taxes, and community. So why not vote and make sure those opinions matter? Now, there are some barriers to voting. I hear them all the time. I don't know enough to vote. I don't have time to figure out where to vote. My vote won't matter anyway. I don't even know if I'm registered. These are all legitimate concerns. But here's the good news. Every single one of these barriers has a solution, and we're here to help you overcome them. That's what this workshop is about. By the end of this workshop, you have the information you need. You'll know your voting options. You'll understand that your vote does matter. And if you're not registered, we can help you with that. There's no reason not to vote. Let me be clear about something. You have more power than you think you do. When you vote, you're not just filling out a ballot, you're participating in democracy. You're saying, I want to be heard. You're choosing who makes decisions on your behalf. You're shaping your community's future. And here's something else. When you vote, you influence the people around you, your friends, your family, your neighbors. They see you voting and it encourages them to vote too. Your participation matters, your voice matters, and your future and the future of your family, your community, your country depends on people like you showing up and voting. So here's what we've covered. Elections are decided by narrow margins. Local government decisions affect your daily life, your schools, your safety, your taxes, and your community. When people vote, real change happens, and every barrier to voting has a solution. We're here to help you overcome those barriers. Now that you understand why voting matters, in the next session, we'll talk about how to vote. We're going to walk through voter registration, finding your polling place, understanding your ballot, researching candidates, and by the end of this workshop, you'll have everything you need to vote with confidence. And I hope you will join us for our next session. So I'm going to come back on camera for a moment and go over some of these dates. So we've been going over these deadlines and these dates on the election schedule. So May 4th was the last day for voter registration. So for this upcoming primary election on May 19th, it's basically you've missed the deadline. If you haven't registered to vote already, that deadline has passed. Today is the last day. The 14th is the last day to apply for an absentee ballot in person. And the 18th, May 18th, the day before the election, will be the last day that you can hand deliver your absentee ballot. Now, if you not registered to vote, and you probably will not have an opportunity to vote in this primary election on May 19th or next week. So that opportunity is passed, but you still have time to register for the general election, November 3rd. Now, the deadline for voter registration is October 19th for the general election. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot by mail is October 27th. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot in person is October 29th. And the last day to hand deliver an absentee ballot will be November 2nd. And the general election will be November 3rd. So even if you miss this primary election next week, you will still have an opportunity to vote in the general election, get registered and vote. It's vitally important that you get registered and vote. And I hope that you are registered, and I hope that you will come out and vote in this primary election on next week. Now, we have some local offices that are being decided in this primary election. We don't have any Democratic candidates who are running for office here in Randolph County locally. So a lot of these offices will be decided in this primary election. And that brings me to some information that I would like to share with you all, which is the Radney Rule. So basically, this is a rule adopted by the Alabama Democratic Party. And the Radney Rule basically forbids any candidate from running in a Democratic election if they are a member or were a member of a Republican Party or ran for office as a Republican for 4 years prior. So that would, if you, for example, vote on a Republican primary ballot or run for office or hold office as a Republican, you wouldn't be able to run for office as a Democrat if you were to vote in the Republican primary. So that's just some handy information some people might find interesting. But while I was looking, Google is nice. While I was looking around, I found some interesting things also for the Alabama Republican Party, which instituted some new rules, which I find very interesting. Uh, Basically, the principles attestation. So basically, Republican candidates must sign a declaration certifying that they endorse and will actively support the principles and policies of the Republican Party. Um, Another interesting rule is under party rule, an elected Republican cannot appoint a Democrat to fill a public vacancy. So there will be no, if Republican is in office, they will not appoint a Democrat to an appointed position. Something else is that the Alabama Republican Party has the authority to deny ballot access and ban individuals from running as Republicans if they determine the person has not consistently acted in alignment with the party. So this is some interesting information. And when you think of current events, such as the things that have been going on with the Voting Rights Act and basically the gutting of the Voting Rights Act and the history of voter suppression in this country and in several states, what we're looking at basically is a box out. This is a box out, and we are heading towards a single party system. That's what we're looking at. Single party system. So it's vitally important that if you aren't registered to vote, I behoove you, please, to go and register to vote and let your voice be heard. And I hope this has been informative to you. My name is Wilkie Frieson, and I'm coming to you from the Clark Historic Site in historic East Roanoke, Alabama. And I hope you will join us next week. We have a voting workshop every Thursday at 6 p.m. And I invite you to join us. Thank you and good evening.